Well, I think that one thing that you could potentially do is, and I recall as Miss Carlson, Miss Wolf were on the same one. You could put Miss Carlson, Miss and comma Miss Wolf. Okay.
How do I show?
You got that? All right, I see that. And I'm just gonna again start moving my screen around here. Miss Carlson, Miss Wolf. Where it says plaintiff co-counsel, is that Mr. Acosta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we make it say that instead of plaintiff co-counsel? That helps, I think, just from our perspective. We're older. We need all the help we can get with these things, I tell you.
Judge McGuire, would you like our real names or our like court names?
Your real name and I take it one of the witnesses, Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Witness names is actually, I think we need your real names.
Okay. Okay.
Just you can even put in there parenthetical Jordan, or if that's the witness name.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And I know we're getting started a half hour late. We're all real lawyers. That's why we're so late. Oh, there's Ms. McCready. And Ms. Martinez. I'm missing. All right, then I think we can sort. All right, just a reminder, I think, is everyone ready to get started? I'm going to start this whole round again. Ms. Carlson, is the prosecution or plaintiffs ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. McCready, is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And are my scorers ready?
Yes, Judge.
Brilliant.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you so much, Ms. Daly. All right. All right, I do want to require to remind everyone that this is being live streamed at this point, that the Colorado Bar Association may be taking, I would say they're taking screen grabs of the competition during the round, and that team participation in the state tournament grants automatic permission that the use of these screen grabs or photographs by the Colorado Bar Association is consented to. If you are, because I have a lot of people logged in, so if there's anyone in this gallery who is connected with the teams not competing in the round, like for example, student members and coaches or other schools, from this or of the same school but a different team, you'll need to log out of this Zoom room. We're not going to be taking any recesses unless there's a health emergency or we have some major technical difficulty. We'll sort that when they come, and we deal with those things in real life as well. I may take a very brief recess right before closing arguments just for you to gather your thoughts, but beyond that, we won't be taking any extended recesses. Any disputes arising out of this competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. And you obviously will be strictly, the time requirements will be strictly adhered to. Well, we don't have jury clause. All right, team members. I'm going to ask all of you to raise your hands, and I don't see, nobody's turned on their videos as of yet, but I am asking you to all raise your hands. So team members, do you promise that the presentations you are about to give will faithfully and truly conform to the facts and the rules of the mock trial competition? If so, unmute and say yes.
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 Okay, go ahead. For the witnesses, raise your right hands. Witnesses, do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competitions? If so, please unmute and say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. As for any members in the gallery, do you promise to represent yourselves as positive role models and to behave in a manner that exemplifies ethical and professional sportsmanship during and after this mock trial round? If so, unmute and say yes. Otherwise, just exit.
Yes.
Right. And scoring panelists. Please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of mock trial competition?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and as do I. All right. Then we will begin at this time with opening statements. Or well, from the plaintiff, any pretrial issues that we need to address? Hearing none.
Wait, yes, sir.
Okay.
Your Honor, the plaintiff asked permission to use any remaining time from our closing argument for rebuttal.
That motion is granted.
Thank you, Your
Thank you,
Honor.
Your Honor.
All right. Any other pretrial issues from the plaintiff?
Yes.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any pretrial issues from defense?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense asks that time is paused for technical difficulties.
And we'll take that on a case by the case basis, but certainly if there's people are falling out, things like that, we're absolutely going to pause time. I think that is fair for everybody. Obviously all the attorneys I know are very well prepared and have already figured out how to display things on Zoom. So I don't think we'll have any of those technical difficulties, but if there is something like that, I'm not going to forego that. Just raise that issue as it comes up. Okay.
If you wish to redirect, is that what you meant?
Just whether will the judge allow redirects or?
Oh, I apologize. I will.
Okay, I'm having.
Will allow redirect. Recross technically is very narrowly limited to those precise.
All right, we have, I think one of our administrators was popping in while they had something on in the background. That is a good example, Ms. McCready, of something where we will stop time when we have two apparently courtrooms going on at the same time. So. All right, plaintiff's opening statements. Who will be doing the opening statement, Ms. Carlson?
Mr. Acosta?
Okay, and just for the benefit of myself and the other scores, please, when we're starting the examinations and the opening statements and the closing arguments, please identify yourself so it makes it a lot easier for us.
Okay, Your Honor.
When we're doing our scoring, I do appreciate that. And so, Mr. Acosta, if you'd like to turn on your video and give your opening statement, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court, opposing counsel and members of the jury, sustainable, affordable, and lethal. You're here today because loss fertilizers care more about the sustainability and the affordability than the safety of its customers. Lush put a carcinogenic product in the market without a safety label. This action resulted in a lethal consequence Our client, Dakota Weirs, has contracted non-Hodgkin lymphoma as a result of Lush Fertilizers negligence. Today, we'll prove to you that Lush is responsible not only for Ms. Weir's lymphoma, but also for corruption only for the gain of money. Dakota is not the only one to have had their life torn apart. Our expert, Dr. Casey Rogers, put together a study that shows others that has been exposed to Drufo, lives has been torn apart. She has done her own research on how Drufo is dangerous and has been linked to illnesses. With a PhD in agriculture and a bachelor's in science chemistry, she took it into her own hands to prove that Drufo is harmful. The defense will try to convict Dr. Rogers of having a sloppy experiment, although she followed the fundamental rules of a scientific study. Then an ex-employee, Carson Durst, was laid off after trying to bring their concerns for the safety of Drufo's companies. So we'll hear how Carson is accused of going behind Lush's back into terrorist greenery, one of the Lush top competitors, trying to make him out as a liar who can't be trusted. Although this is all a cover for them not taking action when they were told the product wasn't safe. Finally, you'll hear from our client, Dakota Weirs, who lost all her progress in education and her career that she worked so hard for. Now, at the age of 20, she has been faced with a life-threatening disease, and she has sacrificed her mental health in order to keep going. At the darkest time, she found a reason for all of this, Drufo. Not only she has lost the future she built, but also her passion. Dakota found comfort in the art of piano, especially after her grandfather passed away. Now having to turn down her scholarship to Juilliard's, the only hope she has left is the company responsible for the damages is held accountable. Instead of taking responsibility, Lush will fight that it's her fault only for not following safety precautions when she was 14. Although a decision made with someone is a child should never lead to them developing a deadly disease. Today, the defense will try to present to you three biased, money hungry, and questionable witnesses. They will build their case upon the idea that a 14-year-old girl is more negligent than a company putting a product on the market without a safe label. Dr. Devin Williams, who compromise the product's safety in order to make it affordable. They will themselves tell you that they have a financial bias in this case. Then Skylar Wales will testify today claiming to be an expert with no formal education, with only their own research behind them, that they will claim to understand how a product is good or bad for the people. Yet those two that claim the argument for Lush is reliable. They will reveal that they have a grudge against her sister because of the financial situation of the family. Then CEO of Lush Fertilizers, Blake Donker, will tell you about how when developing the product, the main goals were sustainability, and the financial success of the company. With options to make Drufo that would make it completely safe, instead, they wanted to use the money to make it environmentally friendly. Blake promotes himself as an environmentalist, donating part of the profits to help reduce pollution. Yet they believe it's too expensive for them to break Drufo. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the burden of proof is upon the plaintiff to prove that Lush Fertilizers was negligence by the preponderance of the evidence, meaning that it's more likely than not that they caused Dakota Weirs to develop non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Today, the plaintiff will prove to you that it's more likely than not that Lush Fertilizers caused Dakota's illnesses. And at this trial, we ask you to find in favor of the plaintiff and find Lush Fertilizers liable. We ask you to hold them accountable and require them to pay $450,000 in physical and emotional damages. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Opening statement for the defense, please. Ms. McCready.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, counsel and opposing counsel, good afternoon. Lush Fertilizer is an amazing company that has changed the world of fertilizers forever. Lush has done extensive research, introduced new products to the market, and helped people with their lawn and garden health with their environmentally friendly products. Lush exercises reasonable care for not only the environment, but those who are around and use their products. Lush uses a revolutionary ingredient called Drufo. Drufo is not only beneficial for the environment by decreasing nitrate runoff, but beneficial and safe for those using this product. Drufo binds to the fertilizer, decreases nitrate runoff, leaving our streams and ecosystems safe, and helping the longevity of a healthy environment. Lush has exercised reasonable care by doing extensive research, multiple testings, and using the company's resources to benefit everybody. Lush included a very clear label warning on their fertilizer, warning customers how to use the product, what to do while using it, and the use of personal protective equipment. This states to wear long sleeves, long pants, and the use of a proper face mask while handling the fertilizer. Through extensive research, Drufo is deemed safe and not linked to any harmful health effects such as cancer. If anything, Drufo causes slight eye irritation. That's it. My name is Caitlin, and my team and I are here representing Lush Fertilizer Incorporated, this honorable company that is being wrongfully sued by the plaintiff, Dakota Weirs. The plaintiff is going through a very unfortunate situation. The plaintiff was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and is placing blame on Lush Fertilizer instead of taking responsibility for their own negligent actions. Dakota Weirs is a young, aspiring pianist. Since the age of 14, Dakota Weirs has worked for Haven Landscaping. Some of these job duties included the spreading and spraying of Lush fertilizer on a daily basis. Although instructed by many to wear proper protective equipment, Dakota Weirs ignored these recommendations. Dakota Weirs sprayed and spread Lush fertilizer in shorts, a short sleeve shirt, and without the use of a proper face mask. If only Dakota Weirs had taken the proper safety precautions, we would not be here today. Today, the defense brings forth 3 witnesses testifying on behalf of Lush Fertilizer. The first witness is Dr. Devin Williams. With almost a decade in toxicology research, Dr. Williams can attest to the biological systems of Drufo, and that Drufo could not be linked to any harmful health effects as a credible and reliable source. Secondly, the defense brings forth twin of Dakota Weirs, Skylar Weirs. Although it's not easy for Skylar to be here today testifying against their beloved twin, Skylar must testify to the truth that Drufo is safe. And as sad as it may be, their twin's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is not at the fault of Lush Fertilizer. Finally, the defense brings forth the noble CEO of Lush Fertilizer, Blake Doncourt. Blake can attest to the quality of Lush Fertilizer and the extensive research that was done before introducing Drufo to the market. Today, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. The plaintiff must present indisputable evidence that Lush is at fault for Dakota Weirs' illness. It is unfortunate, but the plaintiff had time over the last 6 years to take these safety precautions and do their own research. We would not be here today if Dakota Weirs would have just taken the time to read the warning on the packaging. After the defense presents all facts and evidence, you will have no doubt in your mind that Lush Fertilizer is innocent. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The plaintiff like to call their first witness.
The plaintiff calls Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rogers. Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Good afternoon, Dr. Casey Rogers, Rogers.
Can you please state for the record where you went to college?
I studied at the University of California at Berkeley and Colorado State University.
And what sort of degrees did you obtain during your time there?
I earned a PhD in agriculture and entomology, and I have a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture and chemistry.
Have you shared any of that knowledge with the world?
I've dedicated my work to researching negative side effects caused by prolonged exposure to chemicals.
What else have you used your education for?
My research has been used before litigation and administrative advisory boards, and I've given recommendations to companies and regulatory agencies on precautions that should be taken by workers dealing with chemicals.
Wow, that's quite a lot of work. What do you intend to put it towards?
I intend to fight for people like Ms. Weirs and open the door to class action lawsuits.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to enter Dr. Rogers as an expert in horticulture and agriculture as she has the knowledge, experience, training, and education under Rule 702.
Ms. McCready, do you have an objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Well, the witness will be so admitted.
Dr. Rogers, I'd like to talk to you about your research on Drufo and Lush products and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. What kind of chemicals make up Lush's products?
Lush's products include ingredients like phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, and of course, Drufo.
What exactly does Drufo do?
Drufo is used as a bonding agent to keep fertilizers preserved and intact.
Why did Drufo specifically catch your eye?
I was feared that it was rushed to market without proper safety research.
Can you please explain what non-Hodgkin lymphoma is?
Non-Hodgkin lymphoma is a form of cancer that affects the body's white blood cells.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You cut out.
Non-Hodgkin lymphoma is a form of cancer that affects the body's white blood cells.
Can non-Hodgkin lymphoma be treated?
It can be treated through radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and surgery.
Is this disease genetic?
Lymphoma is not genetic and is often caused by environmental factors, which can include pesticides.
Is it possible that Ms. Weirs could have contracted non-Hodgkin lymphoma through her work?
Ms. Weirs was exposed to Drufo, and the particles in Drufo could have entered Ms. Weirs' body through lung and skin tissue.
I'd like to discuss your experiment now, okay?
Okay.
Did you conduct an experiment on Drufo?
Yes, I conducted an experiment to determine the negative side effects caused by prolonged exposure to Drufo.
Would you mind telling us what that entailed?
It entailed a controlled group of people who were exposed. Some were exposed to Drufo often, some occasionally, and others had no exposure at all. Those participants were then monitored over several years for various health conditions.
Those participants have developed those health conditions due to other substances?
Although those participants likely lived harsher lives, Drufo is known to be linked to illness.
What were the results of your study?
My study found that prolonged exposure to Drufo were 10 times more likely to develop cancer than those without exposure, and 5 times more likely than those with occasional exposure. Those in my experiment were mainly diagnosed with endocrine and exocrine-based varieties, which can include non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
For the jury, could you please explain what you mean by endocrine and exocrine-based varieties?
Endocrine and exocrine-based varieties refers to cancer that can be found on the endocrine and exocrine glands within the pancreas.
How are those varieties important to this case?
This shows that Ms. Weir's diagnosis is similar to those in my study.
And how did your findings impact this case?
This shows that Ms. Weir's prolonged exposure to Drufo is likely the cause of her developing non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Earlier, you mentioned Ms. Weir's diagnosis. Could you tell the jury what that diagnosis is?
Yes, I reviewed her charts myself, and Ms. Weirs was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Why do you believe Drufo caused Ms. Weirs' non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
While Ms. Weirs worked for the landscaping company, she was exposed to Drufo for long periods of time, similar to those in my study.
Do you think something else could have caused Mrs. Weir's cancer?
Although Ms. Weirs worked with multiple chemicals, Drufo is known to be linked to cancer, as I said in my experiment.
How exactly did Drufo cause cancer?
Drufo could have been inhaled through the respiratory system or absorbed through the skin, causing cancerous masses to form.
I'm going to address prevention from side effects from Drufo now. Is there any way to prevent side effects from Drufo?
The only way to fully prevent side effects from Drufo is to discontinue the use of it. Although, as a part of my study, I looked into safety equipment's aid and protection. Ultimately, those working with Drufo should wear long sleeves and pants and a medical grade face mask.
Does this study prove protective equipment is effective?
I cannot prove that protective equipment was effective because not all those participants in my study had proper access to protective equipment.
Why was your study found inconclusive?
There was insufficient time to conclude a solid result.
What does this mean for protective equipment's involvement and safety around Drufo?
This means protective equipment cannot be proven to reduce someone's likelihood of developing a negative side effect with prolonged exposure to Drufo.
So, according to your findings, could Dakota Weirs' disease have been prevented with the use of protective gear?
According to my findings, even if Ms. Weirs had worn protective gear, she still would have developed non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, before we move on, is it Ms. Carlson that's doing the questioning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And what is is it Melody, Michelle, or Callista who is the witness?
Melody.
Thank you. All right. Cross-examination, ma'am?
Good afternoon, Ms. Rogers.
Good afternoon.
What precautions were taken before conducting your experiments with Drufo?
My experiment was, can you restate the question?
Yes. What precautions were taken before conducting your experiments with Drufo?
There were no precautions taken before I conducted my experiment.
Okay. You stated Drufo is a patented ingredient that Lush uses in all its products, correct?
Correct.
Did you know Lush came out with a whole line of products without Drufo for the EU?
Yes, I did.
So then you were making statements without full research. Would you agree?
Yes.
Your experiments were focused on Drufo's exposure to humans and their reactions using the chemical, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree anyone using Drufo should wear personal protective equipment?
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
Permission to screen share, Your Honor. Okay. Do you recognize this exhibit, Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
Can you tell everyone what this exhibit is?
This is the safety precaution on Drufo's products, or on Lush Fertilizers products.
Is this an accurate representation of Lush Fertilizers label?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter Exhibit 1 into evidence as it has been proven accurate and authentic.
Any objection, Ms. Carlson?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
And then, Your Honor, permission to publish this to the jury, please?
You may.
Thank you. All right, looking under user safety recommendations, do you notice that it says the use of personal protective equipment, Ms. Rogers?
Yes.
So would you agree with the use of personal protective equipment?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Plaintiff's second witness.
Your Honor, we would like to call Carson Durst to the stand.
And it's Ms. Wolf, is that correct?
Yes.
And is it Michelle or Callista?
I'm Michelle.
Thank you. One moment, are the scorers ready?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Wolf, you may proceed, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Ms. Durst.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Carson Durst, that's URST.
Now, Ms. Durst, you knew Mr. Doncourt before your employment, but what was your relationship with Mr. Charles Doncourt?
He was my best friend ever since I could remember.
So would you say that you know Mr. Doncourt well?
Yes, I know him pretty well.
How often did y'all hang out?
We were on the same local soccer team. I had Sunday dinners at his house. In the summer, I would spend time at the lake house with him, and they were my ride to every soccer game. Eventually, we went to college together.
Did y'all stay friends throughout college?
Yes, he even helped me get a job.
What college did you and Mr. Doncourt attend?
Arizona State University.
What did you graduate in?
I had a bachelor in chemical engineering.
Did anything happen during college that might change Mr. Doncourt or your relationship?
He helped me get an internship at Lush Fertilizers.
Your Honor, permission to have Carson Durst turn to Exhibit 3.
You may.
Without saying what this is, do you recognize it?
Yes,
And what is it?
it's a study on rats.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the study on rats when you saw it?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 3 into evidence.
Is there an objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Did the company know anything about Drufo before your research?
Yes, in 2001, they already had the chemical formula for Drufo.
Did you find tests that took place on the other life forms besides humans?
Yes, I found a study in England and the tests were performed on rats.
Without, when researching the effects on Drufo on rats, the effects of Drufo on rats, what was discovered?
The conclusion showed that people working labor jobs like Dakota Weirs, if they used Drufo at a normal monthly intake, they had a possibility of developing cancer.
Did you report these conclusions?
Yes, I did. I wrote them in my notebook.
Did anyone review your work?
Yes, the product manager, Jerry Langley, did.
Did the idea of Drufo being dangerous to humans ever cross your mind during this part of the research?
Yes, and we were performing a second study on it.
Did Drufo have any effects on humans?
Drufo was shown to be potentially carcinogenic to humans, and it's linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
How was the work environment at Lush?
It was very toxic, and I just didn't feel safe at all.
When did you start searching for a job?
After the abysmal performance review in 2005, I started looking for new jobs.
How did you end up leaving Lush?
I was laid off.
Why were you laid off?
I tried to talk to Blake about Jerry and her bias towards me, but Lush rather cover up the situation with Drufo than want a good employee.
What did you apply to after?
Terry's Greenery. They have some openings for product development engineers.
Why did you decide to work in the same field?
Fertilizer was the only thing I knew. And when I applied, I was conflicted at first due to my relationship with the Dawn courts. But in the end, we all have to look out for ourselves.
What happened on the legal side between you and Blake?
Blake and Lush Fertilizer tried to get the court to stop me from joining Terry's Greenery in fear that I would disclose trade secrets. I do not remember this, but apparently I signed a contract saying that I would not disclose trade secrets.
What have you been working on at Terrace Greenery for the past few years?
We've been working on a new fertilizer and its future looks very promising.
Does it look like Terrace Greenery will outperform Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, I do believe that Terrace Greenery will outperform Lush one day.
Does your animosity towards Blake impact what you're saying here today?
Even though I'm hurt and betrayed by Blake's actions, I would never lie in court just to get back at him. This was 17 years ago, and I will not be holding a grudge for that long. I truly do believe that Drufo is unsafe.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination, Ms. Martinez.
Hi, I'm Mindy. I'll be asking you a few questions today.
Okay.
You know Blake Duncourt personally, correct?
Correct.
And you were fired by Blake Duncourt, correct?
Correct. He was scared that I would disclose trade secrets.
You received poor evaluations while working for Blake Duncourt, right?
Yes, they were pretty biased.
Is it true that you work at Terrace Greenery?
It's true.
As the head of the research and development team at Terrace Greenery, your salary is larger than it was at Lush, right?
Correct.
Terrace Greenery is one of Lush.
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the objection? Ms. Wolf?
Relevance under 402.
Ms. Martinez, why is this relevant?
My previous question?
Yes, that's the objection. Ms. the objection as to the relevance of the witness's current salary.
The witness's current salary is relevant. Because it attests to the matter of truth.
How so?
Their position at Terrace Greenery is higher than it was at Lush Fertilizer.
Ms. Wolf, do you have a response?
I have a relevant objection to what she just said about her position being higher.
Well, that's the argument. So what is your response to that argument?
Can I have a minute to confer with my counsel?
Yeah. And if you turn on your video while you're speaking, that would be helpful as well.
Oh, my bad. Your Honor, her statement as the defense's statement doesn't show the relevance to why the higher position to the salary reflects the salary, why the salary. Sorry, why the salary is relevant to the case.
Ms. Martinez, do you want to respond to that? Why the salary is relevant to the case?
Yes, Your Honor, I am establishing motive.
And I'm going to allow the question to go forward. The objection is overruled. Let me ask the question. It's been a bit, so why don't you re-ask the question and then we'll go from there.
Yes. Terrace Greenery is one of Lush Fertilizer's biggest competitors, right?
That's correct.
And Terrace Greenery uses fertilizer products, right?
That's correct.
In fact, the products you have similar properties to Lush Fertilizer, right?
Yeah.
Did you have concerns about Drupa?
Yes, I did.
Who did you communicate your concerns to? Who did you communicate your concerns to?
I told my concerns to the product manager, Jerry Langley.
You never directly communicated your concerns about Drupa to Blake, right?
That's correct.
But you were personal friends with Blake Duncourt, right?
Yes.
You follow the chain of command when communicating your concerns, right?
Yes.
But you never communicated your concerns directly to Blake Duncourt, even being personal friends, right?
Yes, because he wasn't in charge of the assignment that I was on.
A yes or no will suffice.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right. Ms. Wolf, do you have redirect examination? Ms. Wolf?
Yes.
No, Ms. Wolf,
Yes, Your Honor.
do you have redirect examination?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right, and the witness may stand down. The timekeepers, or excuse me, the judges will let me know when they're ready for the next witness.
I'm ready, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
I'm ready, Judge. Thank you.
Having fun.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Costa, would you like to call your third witness?
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Dakota Weers to the stand. Good afternoon.
May I inquire? Sorry.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name and spell the last for the record.
Dakota Weirs, WEIRS.
Now, before we start, I want to start asking you to tell the jury, why are you here today?
I'm here today because I believe the sole cause of my diagnosis of non-Hodgkin lymphoma is my use of lush fertilizer.
Ms. Weers, what do you think lush fertilizers cause you to develop non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
I'd been working as a landscaping technician at Haven Landscaping since I was 14, where I was in contact with lush fertilizer quite often. Since then, I've learned that lush fertilizer contains an ingredient called Drufo that could cause non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Now, Ms. Weers, how has the cancer affected your everyday life?
Before my diagnosis, I was a very active member of my community. I was involved in many extracurriculars. I was volunteering at my local homeless shelter, and I was a piano player. Sadly, I'm no longer able to do any of those things.
Ms. Weers, you spoke about the piano. Can you please elaborate?
Piano is my passion. I've been playing ever since I was little.
Ms. Weers, can you please tell us how you started playing the piano?
My grandfather's always been my inspiration for playing. Ever since I was little, he taught me how to play.
How did piano impacted your life?
Piano has become my life. When I was 7 years old, my grandfather passed away, and piano became a way for me to cope with his loss. When I played, it felt as though he was still there with me. Since then, it's become my life.
How has your professional career been affected by non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Before my diagnosis, my professional career was growing exponentially. I was in recitals, I was winning piano competitions. I was even awarded a full ride scholarship to Juilliard.
Ms. Weers, you talk about a full ride scholarship to one of the most prestigious music colleges in the US. Could you please elaborate?
People were coming from all around the state to watch me play, which led to me being awarded a full ride scholarship to Juilliard. It was like a dream.
Now, how has your cancer affected you in an educational way?
Sadly, because of my diagnosis, I've had to turn down my scholarship. Even sitting on the piano bench causes me a bruise. I don't think I'll ever be able to pursue a career in concert piano ever again.
Now, Ms. Weers, now that your passion of your life has been taken away, what do you think your quality of life will be now?
Honestly, I don't know. It feels as though my whole life has been ripped away from me.
Now, Ms. Weers, I would like to talk about the emotional effects cancer has had on you. So could you please describe to the jury the effects in which cancer has affected you?
It feels as if my whole life has been ripped away from me, and it's affected my whole family. Because of this, because of my medications, we've had to cut off some costs, which has taken a toll on mine and my sister's relationship.
Sorry to hear that. Now, Ms. Weers, you talked about physical effects. Could you please tell us what physical effects that you develop from non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Because of my non-Hodgkin lymphoma, I often experience swollen lymph nodes, chills, fatigue, chest pain, and headaches.
Now, Ms. Weers, you talk about a landscaping company, which is where you came in contact with Drufo. Could you please tell us how long did you work there?
I worked there throughout high school.
And do you protective equipment there and were working there?
No, because of the heat conditions that I was working in, I did not wear all of the equipment. It would have been unimaginable to do so.
Did your co-workers wear protective gear?
No, almost everybody typically just wore a t-shirt and shorts because of the heat.
Were you ever advised of the equipment?
I was advised to wear the equipment, but because of the conditions, nobody did.
So was it unusual for you to dress the way you did?
No, in fact, it would have been unusual for me to be wearing all of that equipment in the conditions.
Now, Ms. Weirs, you talk about your sibling. Do you have any other siblings?
I have a twin who's actually here today. Their name is Skylar. They're testifying against me.
So, Ms. Weirs, do you and your sister have a good relationship?
Me and Skylar have never had the typical twin bond that other people have had. Nonetheless, I love them.
How has your sister reacted to your diagnosis?
My sister really didn't take it well because of the fact that my father can no longer pay off her gambling debts because he's paying for my medications.
Now let's talk about what does your sister do for a living?
My sister's a waitress as well as a freelance writer.
And what does your sister?
Relevancy? You're muted, Your Honor.
Thank you. What is your response to the relevance objection, Mr. Costa?
Yes, this will show the potential financial bias of the twin sister.
All right. Mr. Maldonado, would you like to respond to that?
How is the knowledge of where Mrs. Weirs' sister work have anything to do with the why we're here today?
All right. And Mr. Acosta?
Yes, well, showing where she works would mean that she's a freelance writer. That means it doesn't have a lot of income. So being on side of Lush Fertilizer, she could get either publicity or money from the actual company.
All right. Thank you. The objection is overruled. You may answer the question, ma'am.
Do you need me to restate?
Yes, please.
What does your sister do for a living?
My sister is a waitress as well as a freelance writer.
What does your sister typically writes about?
My sister typically writes about things such as UFOs, flat earth theory, anti-vax culture, and UFO.
Okay. And do you believe your sister actually believes everything she writes about?
Honestly, I believe my sister would write anything for the right price.
Now, after that, she's here testifying.
Your Honor. Leading question.
Mr. Acosta?
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'll just move on.
Okay. Objection sustained. You may move on, sir.
Now, Ms. Weirs, do you think or do you believe that you and your sister's relationship could ever be the same after this?
Honestly, to have my own twin take the stand against me, I don't think our relationship could ever recover.
Now, Ms. Weirs, I want to ask some questions about why are you so sure that your disease was caused by Lush Fertilizers?
After being diagnosed, I was in a very dark place. I was both physically and emotionally exhausted. And one day on the TV, I saw that Lush Fertilizer could possibly be linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma because of their ingredient Drufo. After that, me and my father did our own research into this.
Now, Ms. Weirs, what evidence did your research show that made you so sure that Lush Fertilizer was the cause of your cancer?
I learned that not only is Lush Fertilizer's ingredient Drufo banned in France, but it's also banned in many other European countries.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Weirs, After all the things you have gone through and everything you're still going to go through because your battle against cancer is not over, do you think you could ever recover?
Honestly, I don't know. All we have at this point is hope.
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Maldonado.
Hello, Mrs. Weirs. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. When working at your at the company, you were told to cover your face, correct?
Correct.
And you worked during the summer. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you please repeat?
You worked during the summer, correct?
Yes, I did.
And it was very hot during the summer, correct?
It was.
So you would take off your mask to feel the wind on your face?
I would typically not wear the mask because of how hot it was outside.
And you knew you were supposed to wear long sleeves, correct?
Correct.
And long pants,
Correct. It was recommended.
as well as gloves.
Yes.
But you didn't.
No, I did not because of the conditions I was working in.
And when working, you were responsible for spreading the fertilizer, correct?
I was.
And you worked with products that contain Drufo regularly?
I did.
More than somebody, let's say, without this job?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. Your doctor has not given up hope on you, correct?
All of us are trying to hold out hope given the circumstances.
But you have given up hope?
I have not given up hope.
Well, according to affidavit lines from 52 to 53, it says otherwise. You were given the option to put your scholarship on hold for up to 2 years because of your non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Correct.
And lastly, your knowledge on Drufo products comes from Google, correct?
No, I saw it on the news and then I did my own research.
Okay, no more questions.
Redirect to examination, Mr. Acosta.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. The witness may stand down.
The plaintiff rest?
Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Well, it's getting there. Does the defense have a witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. McCready will hold one moment while the scores tally, and then they'll let me know when they're ready.
Ready, Judge.
Ready, Judge.
All right. Ms. McCready, call your witness.
First, the defense calls forth Dr. Devin Williams to the stand.
Ms. McCready, is there a way for you to adjust your microphone volume? And if there's a way to not count this against her times so that it's just really soft-spoken, or perhaps it's your microphone?
I'll just talk louder if that works.
Oh, yeah, you can use your outside voice, that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
All right, you may proceed.
All right. Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Dr. Devin Williams, Williams.
Why are you here today, Dr. Williams?
I'm here today to testify on behalf of Lush.
And what is your occupation?
I am the head of the Toxicology Research and Development Labs at Lush.
What does a toxicologist do?
Well, as a toxicologist, I am able to find harmful chemicals that could be harmful to humans and how to neutralize them.
Awesome. Your Honor, permission to screen share Exhibit 9.
It's granted.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, what is this?
I don't see anything at the moment. Oh, okay, there it is. It is my CV.
And is this a proper representation of all of your professional experience and education?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. At this time, I would like to publish Exhibit 9 as it has been proven accurate by the witness.
Is there any objection from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that's granted.
And then permission to publish this to the jury.
That's granted.
Thank you. Okay. How long have you worked with Lush Fertilizer?
I've been working with Lush for over a decade now and have been their head of the toxicology lab for around 7 years.
Awesome. What training and background led you to your position at Lush Fertilizer?
Well, I got my education from Colorado State University, and from there I got my PhD in toxicology and pharmacology, and then my master's in forensics toxicology specialization, and then I got my bachelor's in toxicology from the University of Utah.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would like to enter Dr. Devin Williams as an expert in toxicology and the biological systems of agriculture.
Any objection from the defense?
A brief voir dire, Your Honor.
You may voir dire. And who's voir dire? Oh, it's Ms. Wolf. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Williams, you went to the University of Utah in 1993 for pharmacotoxicology, correct?
That is correct.
You also went to Colorado State University and majored in forensic technology specialization in 1998.
I have.
And you got your PhD in pharmacology and toxicology specialization as well?
Yes, I did.
This was in 2003?
Yes, it was.
So your last educational experience relating to toxicology was 19 years ago?
Around there.
A yes or no would suffice.
Yes.
Do you have toxicology certifications in multiple states?
In multiple states?
Yes.
No.
Impeach.
Your Honor, I would like to impeach.
Lay the foundation to impeachment.
She has had her toxicology certification in multiple states.
Okay. You may impeach her if you like.
Give me a minute.
I would like to withdraw the impeachment, Your Honor.
Do I not have because of the case?
Do you pass the witness then? Or what is your position?
Your Honor, at this time, we don't object to Dr. Devin Williams being entered as an expert in toxicology. We only ask that they stick to their parameters of their expertise in testifying.
This is the ruling of the court. Ms. McCready, you may inquire.
Dr. Williams, you are lead toxicologist at Lush Fertilizer, correct?
Correct.
Meaning you work with toxicology on a daily basis, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Can you tell us about your work at Lush Fertilizer?
Okay, while working at Lush, I was able to find out that Drufo is the main product being used due to the fact that I had to oversee and overtake the environmental impacts.
And can you explain more about those environmental impacts, please?
Of course. By using Drufo, Lush is not contributing to nitrate pollution, which pretty much means that no nitrates are running off into the bodies of water.
And what considerations were taken before using Drufo?
Well, the whole purpose of developing Drufo is to make sure that the planet is better for the people and the animals on it, meaning that Drufo is far better than any other nitrate compound.
Is Drufo regulated in every country?
It is not regulated in every country. It is banned in the EU. However, the ban is not based off of health or cancer risk. It's based off of because Drufo has nitrates in it.
Okay. And has Lush done any research with Drufo leading to cancer?
They have, however, they did not, we did not find any correlations with Drufo increasing the risk of cancer or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Are you aware of Dr. Casey Rogers' study pertaining to Drufo?
I am aware, yes.
And what is your perspective on the logistics of this study?
I think that the fundamental concept is wrong. I think he messed up, or they messed up, sorry, when they compared the side effects of farm laborers, casual gardeners, and people who didn't even do either. So basically he compared apples to oranges instead of apples to apples. I think it would have been better if he used groups of the same environment.
And what would you have done differently if you duplicated the study?
If I were to duplicate the study, I would have made sure my groups were around the same environment, and I would have made sure that it would have been peer reviewed and replicated.
Thank you so much. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination by the plaintiff.
When you join Lush, only 50% of the people working on Drufo's development were still there.
I'm sorry?
When you join Lush, only 50% of the people working on Drufo's development were still there.
Yes, that's correct.
You were promoted to lead labs.
I was.
You were promoted to oversee environmental impact.
Yes.
Blake hired you to develop Drufo.
Yes.
Blake needed you to keep Drufo products industry leading.
That is correct.
Environmentally aware.
Yes, it is.
And cost effective.
That is also correct, yes.
But not to provide a safe product for human use.
Well, yes, to provide a safe product for human use as Drufo is safe.
Yes or no suffice?
Yes.
Eutrophication is the buildup of excessive nutrients in bodies of water.
Yes, that is true.
It all traces back to excess nitrate.
Yes, it does.
Nitrates are unused nitrogen from fertilizers.
That is true.
These nitrates enter streams and lakes and are harmful to humans.
They do, that is correct.
Drufo is banned in France, correct?
That is correct. However, the ban is not caused from health or cancer risk.
It is a yes or no question.
Yes, it is.
In fact, it is banned in the entire EU.
Yes, that is true.
It is banned because it contributes to more than incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests.
Yes, in lab tests. However, that is not correct in real world.
Yes or no, please.
Yes.
And just to clarify, nitrates cause eutrophication.
Nitrates do cause eutrophication.
The same eutrophication that your company claims to decrease.
Yes, that is true.
Your company plans to ask the EU to reconsider Drufo's approval.
Yes, it does.
If your product was to be approved by the EU, you would make a lot of money, correct?
We would.
If this case finds that Drufo does cause cancer, that would change things, correct?
Yes, it would.
If this case finds that Drufo does cause cancer, in fact, it would create a whole host of new bureaucratic roadblocks with the EU.
Yes.
You can compare the incident rate for people who use different types of fertilizers with incident rate of people who use Drufo fertilizers.
That is true.
But you did not conduct a study, correct?
No.
Instead, you compared incident rates to jelly bean colors?
Yes, as like an analogy, kind of.
When you term that knowledge into Drufo, the data all came in under normal competence level, correct?
That is correct.
This means that the data you looked at was consistent with uses of Drufo fertilizers, not having an elevated risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma compared to uses of other fertilizers.
That is correct.
This means that Drufo users have the same risk of developing non-Hodgkin lymphoma as users of toxic fertilizers.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I cut it out a little bit.
This means that Drufo users have the same risk of developing non-Hodgkin lymphoma as users of toxic fertilizers.
Yes.
You claim that Casey Rogers set out to find harmful effects caused by chemical agents.
That is true.
In fact, you once had a professor at CSU that said when someone finds what they set out to find, always question their results.
Yes.
However, it's your job to find positive results for the company.
It is.
And in your own words, you admit you have a financial bias in the outcome of this case.
Yes. However, I think Rogers is higher.
A yes or no, please.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You have redirect examination, Ms. McCready.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Dr. Rogers, would you agree Lush is helping the environment by decreasing nitrate runoff?
I would agree. And it's because it stops the process of eutrophication.
And were your studies peer-reviewed in-house?
They were.
Was there any need to put any harmful effects on the fertilizer?
There was no need as Drufo was claim safe.
Awesome. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any recross, Ms. Wolf?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You may stand down. Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Defense have a second witness. Dr. Williams.
Your Honor, defense calls Skylar Weirs to the stand.
And my scorers will let me know when they're ready.
Ready, Judge.
Ready, Judge.
All right. Mr. Maldonado, you may inquire.
Please state your full name and spell your last for the record.
Skylar Weirs, Weirs.
And Miss Weirs, why are you here today?
I am here to stop the spread of misinformation about Lush Fertilizer's product, Drufo.
And Miss Weirs, what is your education?
Well, I graduated high school 2 years ago.
Okay. And what is your current job?
I work as a freelance writer for a scientific magazine.
And what is a freelance writer?
Well, a freelance writer is like
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
contractor.
relevance to the last question? Objection?
Please specify which one.
Okay, hold on. There's an objection pending. Mr. Maldonado, why is Ms. Ware's testimony relevant as to her current position?
Your Honor, I'm laying foundation.
Doesn't matter.
What? No, I'm sorry. Why doesn't it matter?
Well, hold on.
I'm laying foundation for this case.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Maldonado, I did not hear you.
Foundation. Sorry, Your Honor.
Okay, laying foundation for what, sir?
Laying foundation for as to why. Sorry, Your Honor. I'm laying foundation as to why Mrs. Weirs, as to why Skylar is here.
And Ms. Carlson, do you have a response to that?
His argument does not make sense.
That's your response? All right, Mr. Maldonado, do you want to elaborate on your argument?
Yeah, I'm asking for clarification as to why he's here to lay foundation.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection.
Ms. Weirs, what do you know about fertilizers?
I know an extensive amount of fertilizers. I did a lot of research this past year in the subject.
And how often do you write about these said fertilizers?
Well, considering how much I focus my research into them a little bit more often than I've talked about my other subjects, but as a writer, you need versatility and a well-rounded ability to write about different subjects. So I've made sure to, keep myself available to other subjects. But, fertilizers and GMOs have taken a considerable amount of my focus as of late.
So with that, how familiar are you with Drufo specifically?
I am very familiar with Drufo. It was one of the main points of focus for my research.
So how familiar are you with the common carcinogens in fertilizers?
I'm quite familiar with them because unfortunately this business comes with those, kind of buried back in the closet, but it is a real risk with some fertilizers, but not Lush's.
And Ms. Weirs, how long have you been doing research on agriculture?
As I said before, just a little under a year, and I must preface that that is a long time to devote research to any given subject, because as a writer and, as someone of my stature who, needs to focus on so many things like financially and with my own writing expertise, it takes a lot to devote this much time and effort to researching a product. But, I need to make sure I'm well educated on something I'm about to write for, because, I don't want to spread misinformation on anything. I'm very thorough in my research.
Your Honor, at this time, we ask to enter Skylar Weirs as an expert in agricultural research.
Does the plaintiff have an objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Hold on. Yes, Your Honor. A brief voir dire.
You may voir dire, Ms. Carlson.
All right, Ms. Weirs, I'd like to talk to you about your education. You did not go to college, correct?
No, I did not. I did not have the financial support or stability to pursue a college education.
A yes or no will suffice, please.
No.
And you made that decision because an article you wrote was successful?
Could you elaborate?
Well, part of the decision, according to your affidavit at least, part of the decision you made not to go to college was because one of your articles was successful, and therefore you believed that you would make more profit by continuing to write instead of going to college.
Yeah, when you find a way to, fill your pockets up without, having a college degree, which I'm sure everybody in this courtroom knows is expensive, I think that's a logical answer for anybody. If you can make money without, spending money, that's a pretty good business decision.
I'm sorry, it's a yes or no question, please.
That was a yes.
Okay. So you chose to completely forego college because of a decision based off of one article you wrote that became popular.
Well, success is success, Ms. Carlson. If you find a way to make money, as I said before, you're going to make money. So yeah, based
yes
off
or
of
no,
that,
sir.
what I believe,
No,
I
I'm
just
so
said
sorry.
yes.
I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Okay. And furthermore, according to you, you have general knowledge on the subject of Drufo and agriculture, correct?
Yeah, I devoted a little under a year to that. So yeah.
But you don't have any professional education outside of high school.
No, it doesn't take a professional education to do research on the subject. I'm a reporter, ma'am.
And you have no college degrees on this subject?
No, as we established earlier, I did not pursue college due to my success as a writer.
Yes. And not even an internship at a place that uses this kind of information?
No, the Rationalist magazine is a very good stand-in for any internship. I get to write about what I want to write when I want to write it.
It's a yes or no question.
And I started it with my answer.
All right. And yet you are claiming to be an expert witness because of general knowledge, according to you.
No, I am claiming to be an expert witness, as a researcher in the agriculture industry.
Okay. So, Ms. Weirs, you also work at Applebee's, correct, on the side?
Yeah, it's a good side job, keep filling money in the pockets, as some may say. It's a hard economy out here.
And that is your main paying job, correct?
Along with my freelance writing job, yes, but I never forego my passions.
So you're a part-time waitress from Applebee's claiming to be an expert witness in a civil case.
I'm claiming to be an expert in research because I don't see how my waitress job
Yes or
at
no?
Applebee's has to deal. It's not a yes or no question, ma'am. I don't see how my, employment at an Applebee's has to do with my ability to research the subject. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, I am, but I don't find it very relevant to it.
All right, Your Honor, the defense objects to the entrance of Skylar Weirs as an expert as she lacks the knowledge, education, training, and experience under Rule 702.
Mr. Maldonado?
May I refer to the pretrial rulings, Your Honor?
You may.
Well, according to pretrial rulings on page 4, it states Skylar Weir spent considerable time researching Argotech companies by reviewing publications written by those companies, research studies referenced in those publications, and information maintained by the USDA and the NASDA. If such facts are confirmed as trial are sufficient to establish the witness' specialized knowledge beyond that held by, what happened? Last page. Sorry, Your Honor, I lost the page, but yeah, that's
Right. Well, I agree with the plaintiff that the foundation here at the trial stage could have been better as far as experience. Obviously, education is not required. It can be based on your own or a person's experience. After reviewing the pretrial ruling, I will allow Ms. Weir to testify as an expert in the area of research.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Weirs, what is DRUFO?
DRUFO, according to my research, is a product in Lush Fertilizer's fertilizer.
And how does DRUFO work?
DRUFO binds the Lush Fertilizer product to the plant it is being applied to. If I may provide an analogy, think of a screen protector on a phone. Lush Fertilizer's product is the screen protector. The plant you're applying it to is the phone. DRUFO acts as the adhesive that sticks that screen protector to your phone, keeps it protected, keeps it safe. That's what DRUFO is for, and it does a great job at it.
And how does it make fertilizer safer?
Well, when you bind the Lush Fertilizer chemical to the plant that you're applying it to, it helps prevent runoff, which is very important because you definitely don't want foreign chemicals from fertilizers running off into the environment, not in your drinking water. I doubt anybody here would like fertilizer in their drinking water. So, you could thank DRUFO for preventing that.
Okay, Ms. Weirs, have you researched any concern with DRUFO being carcinogenic?
To my extensive research, I have not seen any peer-reviewed article or study that has proven DRUFO to be a carcinogenic product or have any carcinogenic properties.
Okay, Ms. Weirs, let's talk about Dakota. Can you please identify Dakota Weirs for the court?
I'm gonna need her camera to turn on.
Please. Ms. Dakota Weirs, can you please turn your camera on so my witness can identify you for the court?
For the purpose of today's Zoom trial, we could presume that the camera is on and identify as the first, second, or third witness that testified, please.
Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Okay. Where did it finish? Okay. Let the record show that my client has correctly identified Dakota. So, Ms. Weirs, how do you know Dakota?
I don't know Dakota. Funny little thing. She's my twin. We're related, twinsies. We came out the womb of our mother. Like a little team. Her and I. We weren't the closest, but as siblings, you're kind of close, by default. And I love her very dearly, but I find this whole situation to be a little complicated, if I may say.
And what was Dakota's job?
Well, when we were in high school, Dakota worked at a fertilizer company. or
And
a
where
landscaping
specifically?
company, sorry.
Where was specifically?
Haven Landscaping.
And for how long did your sister work there?
Well, she started when we were 14, and assuming that, you know, she ended her employment recently, many years, hopefully longer than, you know, so.
And did you work with them at this said landscaping company?
No, I did not.
And Miss Weirs, what did you observe when Dakota came home from work?
You know, what you'd observe from anybody coming home from a real working man job, if some may say. A little dirty, a little scuffed up, but no, nothing too bad. Glad she showered after, that's for sure.
So according to your research, are there common carcinogens in fertilizers?
Unfortunately, there are some in some fertilizers, like you have arsenic, you have glyphosate, you have nitrates, but I must commend Lush Fertilizer for their ability to use these products in a very limited sense, because, you know, they don't want their chemicals to be carcinogenic. They're thinking about people. So for, you know, anybody to call Lush Fertilizer's product themselves carcinogenic, they'd be incorrect. But, you know, there are other companies that do have these because of the nature of some of these fertilizers. They have pesticides in them, and pesticides are by definition poison. They're meant to kill off any unwanted foreign objects. So, you know, some may have, some don't. And the some that don't, you know, usually come from Lush.
So to clarify, that was yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And based on your research, could this affect your siblings' non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
If Dakota used a fertilizer that wasn't belonging to Lush, I'd say there was a slight possibility, because in and of themselves, you know, the odds of you getting cancer from fertilizer are very slim. It's not zero, but it's slim. But because Dakota used Lush Fertilizer's product, and as I said before, I haven't seen any research that can connect Drufo itself, you know, the chemical that they are, you know, saying links to Dakota's for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma diagnosis. I can't confirm that because Drufo's non-carcinogenic. So I fail to see how you could connect the two. No.
Thank you. No further questions.
You're welcome.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Weirs, I'd like to address your financial situation and your job now.
Go.
So your writing is freelance, correct?
Yeah, as I said before, it is similar to how a contractor operates. Freelance writing goes from basis to basis, but yeah, that's one of the jobs I work.
So you are receiving some income from it, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, as a freelance writer, you know, you got to take some of, take a little bit of hits to your wallet in order to write about what you want to write about. And I'm very willing to take that.
All right, but the income from it isn't, it isn't enough to fully make ends meet for you?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy.
I'm
Ms. Carlson?
establishing, oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Carlson,
I'm establishing financial bias for the witness.
objections overruled. You may answer the question.
So you don't make enough money from your freelance writing to make ends meet?
No, I do not, but that doesn't mean I don't hate it. It's a great job. Love it. It's my passion.
But part of your problem making ends meet is because of your gambling debt, correct?
True, but I fail to see how that's relevant to this.
I'm establishing financial bias for you.
Oh.
Okay, and your parents were helping you pay off this debt, right?
Yeah, my father was helping me pay off this debt. You know, gambling, you know, it's a little bit of a bug, but, you know, go Raiders.
Yeah. But after your mom died, your dad cut you off?
Yeah, under very specific circumstances that, you know, don't relate too heavily to the situation in court today.
Okay, but you are still in the will as far as you know, correct?
Yeah,
Objection,
but, you know,
Honor,
that's
relevancy.
not.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Hold on, there's an objection pending. Mr. Maldonado, what is your objection, sir?
Relevancy, Your Honor.
Ms. Carlson, what is your response?
I am still establishing financial bias for this witness.
All right, and the objection is still overruled.
But as far as you know, you're still in the will, correct, Ms. Weirs?
Could you repeat that?
As far as you know, you're still in the will.
Yeah, but I'm not too worried about, being in my father's will. I think, at a certain point, I'll be able to support myself. So that's a yes.
Okay, but the amount of money you are set to receive for the will is dwindling because of Dakota's medical bills?
Yes, but, I don't hold anything against my sister for that.
Because you are testifying in this case as an expert, you stand to gain more recognition than a normal witness, correct?
Could you repeat that?
No problem. Because you are testifying as an expert in this case, you stand to gain more recognition than a normal witness, correct?
I certainly see that as a possibility, but it's not why I'm here today.
I wasn't asking that. And with that publicity, more people would know who you are, correct?
Yes, I guess you could say that it's the purpose of publicity.
Leading to more people paying attention to your work and you possibly receiving more income because of it?
Possibly, yeah, but I don't think I would gain more viewers from that situation or from this situation.
Okay. I'd like to address your article work now. You work for a Science Skeptic magazine, correct?
I work for a scientific magazine that promotes skepticism within the scientific community, yes.
So a Scientific Skeptic magazine, correct?
Yeah, we touch upon a lot of subjects.
And that magazine is devoted to promoting scientific skepticism?
We review it, as do many publications.
Okay. They promote scientific skepticism to resist the spread of pseudoscience, superstition, and irrational beliefs, correct?
Yeah, we want our readers to have a non-biased opinion on scientific subjects. We want them to understand these things without having any political bias, fueling them. We try to provide a neutral point of view.
Okay. And in the articles you write, you advocate for Drufo on multiple occasions, correct?
Yeah, it's a wonderful, safe product. It's great for the environment.
So you promote Drufo from a scientific standpoint, despite being devoted to promoting scientific skepticism among your readers?
Could you elaborate?
So in the articles you wrote about Drufo, you defend it from a scientific standpoint, going about how it scientifically helps the plants and helps reduce the amount of fertilizer you have to apply to a certain area. So you do all that with a good amount of scientific knowledge, but when it comes to your actual job, you promote scientific skepticism among your readers.
Yes, because Drufo is being attacked a lot in the media. A lot of people have very mixed feelings about them, and that
Ms.
itself
Weers, it's a
is,
yes or no question, please.
In my opinion, it isn't, but okay, yeah, we do.
Okay. So, but growing against Drufo would discredit your writing in some way or the other, right?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Could you repeat that?
Going against Drufo would discredit your writing? In this case?
Yeah, because I defended it and I stand by that.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Maldonado, do you have redirect examination?
Yes, a brief one, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
So at your job in agriculture, your information is maintained by the USDA and the NASDA, correct?
Yes, I only research, very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, official and highly regarded subjects, and the USDA and USFDA definitely fall into those two categories.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right. Is there recross examination, Ms. Carlson?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The scorers will let me know when they're ready for the next one. Ms. Weers, you may stand down. Thank you.
Ready, Judge.
Right. Ms. Daly, are you all set or are you still scoring?
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
The defense like to call their final witness.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense would like to call Blake Duncourt to the stand.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. You may inquire.
Please state your full name and your last, and spell out your last for the record.
Blake Doncourt, Doncurt.
And why are you here today, Ms. Duncourt?
I'm here because there are false allegations against my company that one of the ingredients in our fertilizers has caused cancer.
And what is your role at Lush Fertilizer?
I am the CEO and founder.
And when did you found Lush?
In the year 2000.
And what are some ingredients in your product?
Obviously, Drufo. There is also nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, iron, and some other ingredients.
And is Drufo an active ingredient in your fertilizer?
It is. It's the bonding agent we use.
Let's talk about Drufo. What is Drufo specifically?
As I said, it's the bonding agent. Basically, it helps the fertilizer bond to the plant or grass that you are putting it on, meaning that there is little to no nitrogen runoff when it rains or when you water. Since the fertilizer isn't coming off with the water, it also means that it has to be applied less than other fertilizers, which makes it safer for use.
So, do all Lush products contain Drufo?
All of those except the ones distributed in the European Union.
And why do your products distributed in the EU not contain Drufo when in the US they do?
When the European Union conducted their testing, they did it in a lab and found an amount of nitrogen runoff that is banned in the EU. However, since it was in a lab, it was not accurate to what you find in nature.
And was their testing conducted at Lush?
Yes, Lush conducted an extensive amount of testing on Drufo and the fertilizer as a whole before even considering distributing to the public.
And were there any concerns when testing Drufo?
No, Lush found absolutely no concerns for use.
And how many tests and studies were conducted?
We conducted more tests and studies than necessary or required.
Were there any kind of serious concerns raised?
No, nothing at all. And as I said, we did extensive testing.
Permission to screen share Exhibit 1?
You may.
Did it screen share?
It is.
Oh, okay. I now show you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 1. Would you please identify this?
This is the label that we use on our fertilizers.
Permission to admit Exhibit number 1 into evidence.
Exhibit 1 is already admitted.
Right. Okay. Why does your product contain a safety recommendation instead of a warning?
Well, since there is no concern with the product being harmful or cancer causing, there is no necessity for a warning. However, as with any fertilizer, if it touches your eyes, it can be harmful. So we wanted to make sure that We included the recommendation so that people were still using the proper protective equipment while handling the fertilizer.
And were there any concerns raised by employees?
No, I was not aware of any concerns raised by any of my employees.
Was Carson Durst an employee at Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, Carson was an employee for a couple years.
Could you please identify Carson Durst today?
Carson had black hair and was wearing a black mask.
Let the record show that Ms. Duncourt has accurately identified Carson Durst.
Well,
What was your role at Lush?
Carson was initially hired as an intern and then promoted to the research and development team.
Was Durst good at their job?
Durst was good for someone that was hired directly out of college. However, she was not as good as someone who would have had more training.
And why was Durst given a job to begin with if they were underqualified?
Well, Durst was lifetime friends with my eldest child, Charles. They went to school together, they were on the soccer team together, and they went to college together. When I was informed that Durst had not found a job very close to their college graduation, I took pity and gave them a job.
Were there any concerns made about Drufo by Durst?
Nothing that I was aware of. The only thing that Durst came directly to me to talk about was a couple of complaints that they had received.
And what was Durst's main job?
Durst was mainly there to raise any concern about any of the products.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
all right, thank you. Cross-examination. Mr. Acosta, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Mr. Doncourt, you became the CEO of Lush Fertilizers into the year 2000?
Yes.
Objection, Your
Okay.
Honor.
What's the objection, Ms. Martinez?
I'm unsure who Mr. Acosta is referring to, as my witness is Ms. Duncourt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sounds like a misspeak.
Okay.
Rephrase the question, Mr. Acosta.
Okay. Ms. Doncourt, you became the CEO of Lush Fertilizers in the year 2000.
Yes.
You grew the company from nothing to now one of the top suppliers of fertilizer.
Yes, I did.
Lush Fertilizers became the company's flagship product.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. Lush fertilizer became the company's flagship product.
Yes.
Mr. Doncourt, Drufo
Miss Doncourt.
chemical found in your Miss Doncourt, Drufo is a fertilizer found in your fertilizer.
I'm sorry, can you re-ask that?
Miss Doncourt, Drufo is a chemical which is in your fertilizer.
Yes.
And we're here today because Drufo gave non-Hodgkin lymphoma to Dakota Weirs.
According to Miss Weirs, yes. But I do not believe that that is the truth.
Mr. Doncourt, now I would like to talk about Carson Durst. Carson started working in Lush Fertilizers as an intern,
Yes.
and then Carson was laid off 3 years later.
Yes.
He went and started working for Terrace Greenery,
Correct.
your top competitor.
Yes.
Carson's jobs was to look for dangerous side effects of the fertilizer,
Yes, it was.
and Carson brought his concerns to Terrace Greenery after he left the company.
I am not sure what Carson brought to Tara.
Now moving on to Drufo. As you mentioned, Drufo is a chemical found in your fertilizer, correct?
Yes, it is the bonding agent that we use.
And Drufo has been banned in countries in Europe.
Yes, it has.
Drufo is a chemical bonding agent that allows fertilizer to adhere better to the ground.
Yes, it is to prevent nitrogen runoff.
And you were okay with not adding a warning label, correct?
As I said, it was not required, but we do have the safety recommendation.
Okay. The company did this knowing that the chemical was banned banned in the EU?
Yes, because as I said, the EU did testing in a lab instead of in an actual nature environment.
Mr. Doncor, are you familiar with you're familiar with the baking process, correct?
I am.
It's a process of heating of the fertilizer,
Yes.
which removes any carcinogenic product of it may contain.
Yes.
And your company does not bake your product?
No, there is no need to bake the product, seeing as it is safe.
But it could be safer, correct?
Yes, but as I said, we found no carcinogenic properties, so there was no reason to bake.
Okay. Ms. Doncor, you donate 10% of your yearly profit to charity, right?
Correct.
In fact, your company's at the forefront of cleaning the most polluted areas in the world.
I'm sorry, you cut out again.
Okay. In fact, the company is at the forefront of cleaning the most polluted oceans in the world.
Yes.
You direct all this money to charity, correct?
Yes.
Yet you don't bake your product because, according to you, it's too expensive, correct?
It's expensive and there's no need.
Even though baking it will make it 100% safe and reduce any little risks to nothing, correct?
Correct.
But you still don't bake your product, correct?
Yes, as I have said, there is no need because there is no concern.
Okay, no more questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez, do you have redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Does Terra Greenery use similar products to Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, they do.
And why does Lush not bake their fertilizers?
As I said, there is already so little concern that it is carcinogenic that there is no need. So we are saving the company's time and money.
So it's pointless to bake since the product is already safe?
Exactly.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Any recross, Mr. Acosta?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And the witness may stand down. Does the defense rest?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense rests.
All right, we'll proceed to open to closing arguments. Do the parties need a 2-minute break? Hearing no response, I will assume we're ready to go to closing as soon as the judges or the scorers tell me that they are ready.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ready, Judge.
I've got it, Judge.
All right. Ms. Wolf, will you be doing the closing argument for the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. Sustainable, affordable, and lethal. Today, we have shown you how Lush Fertilizer has jeopardized the life of Dakota Weirs. They have compromised the safety of their product in favor of the environmental impact and the affordability. The consequence of this choice has been dire. It has ended in reunition of a 20-year-old's life. Today, you saw the emotional and physical harm that Lush has brought upon this young woman. Today, you heard from Dakota Weirs, someone who has lost her quality of life and her passion due to Drufo, along with her future and family. She has been forced to give up her future in piano and a full-ride scholarship to Juilliard. Along the way, she also lost some form of family, as you saw earlier. We also heard from Carson Durst, who formerly worked at Lush Fertilizer. He was told to cover up his results and the bad things about Drufo to keep his job. He later was fired because he refused to stand down when mistreated by his manager. The last person on the plaintiff's side we heard from was Dr. Casey Rogers, who has completed her own study on Drufo, which proved that Drufo has harmful and negative effects. The most harmful effect being cancer. Today, the defense tried to tell you a tale of Lush Fertilizer's innocence, but all they really proved was their own negligence. Their biased and unqualified expert witnesses spent a great deal of time trying to prove to you their innocence by promoting their environmental impact. But ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the environmental impact of this product has nothing to do with its cancerous effect on consumers. Earlier on the defense side, we heard from Dr. Devin Williams, and we're told that he was brought in to make sure that Jufo is industry-leading, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly. We can see from the trial that he puts the environment impact and effects of cost over the safety of the product. He also has made it clear that his financial gains from this will be great, proving more that he would do anything to keep at the top. Skylar Weirs is another witness you heard from and learned of gambling debt that can no longer be paid due to her sister's medical bills. She is an internet certified expert with no college degree who admits to promoting scientific skepticism. Today, you also heard from CEO of Lush Fertilizer himself. He told you himself that he wants to stay at the top of the industry no matter the cost. She told us that her concerns are for the environment over the safety of the product. We're also told that the ingredients within Jufo are not baked, even though baking the product would eliminate any risk of it being carcinogenic. While Jufo is banned in the EU, Blake shows no action in questioning his own scientists. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the burden of proof is upon the plaintiff to prove that Lush Fertilizer was negligent by a preponderance of the evidence, being that it is more likely than not that all aspects of the plaintiff's claims of negligence were committed. If we remember from earlier, they neglected to add a warning. A recommendation is not the same. If Jufo is a big name company, why not add this simply cheap label? Through the evidence provided today, we have proven that 1, the defendant manufactured a product containing the chemical compound Jufo. 2, the defendant was negligent by failing to exercise reasonable care. And 3, the plaintiff has damages that were caused by the defendant's negligence. Lush Fertilizer was too concerned with being sustainable and affordable that they didn't care if they put a lethal product on the market. The consequence of this negligence has been the reignition of one young girl's aspirations and future. As we all know, you only live once. We ask that you find in favor of the plaintiff and find Lush Fertilizer liable. We ask that you hold Lush Fertilizer accountable and ask that they give Dakota Weirs $450,000 in damages. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, closing argument for the defense.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, co-counsel and opposing counsel. Today, the defense has brought forth 3 witnesses, Dr. Devin Williams, Skylar Weirs, and Blake Duncourt. Dr. Devin Williams highlighted that the multitude of fertilizer products used by Dakota Weirs may be cancer causing. Skylar Weirs explains that Lush works to prevent water contamination by requiring fewer ingredients than other leading fertilizer companies, which also benefits the consumer. Blake Duncourt has made safety a #1 priority in their career at Lush Fertilizer by running an extensive amount of testing and studies even after Jufo was deemed safe. The plaintiff's expert, Dr. Casey Rogers, ran one study not specific to Lush Fertilizer, one study that has not been replicated, peer-reviewed, or published. It is heartbreaking to see such a young person who have their whole life ahead of themselves be diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Dakota Weirs stated that they did not follow safety measures of proper protocol and PPE. It is especially tragic knowing that the plaintiff was negligent for not exercising reasonable care by blatantly disregarding their supervisor's warnings, by choosing not to wear long sleeve clothing or a safety mask as recommended on the products, by choosing not to wear safety by choosing not to follow safety protocols because it was too hot, they were too sweaty, no one else was compliant because their employer did not enforce these protocols. The plaintiff voluntarily exposed themselves to products that are not meant to be used on a daily basis repeatedly for years. There is no way Lash Fertilizer had anything to do with the plaintiff's diagnosis of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. When the plaintiff did not exercise any kind of reasonable care. This is why you must rule in favor of Lush Fertilizer. Today, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff, and they were unable to link Dakota's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma to the product containing Drufo. Therefore, you must rule on the side of the defense and acquit Lush Fertilizer Incorporated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Rebuttal closing from the plaintiff. Ms. Wolf, you're muted.
Sorry.
You said
Okay, we're good. Okay, as the defense said earlier at the beginning of the case, Drufo causes slight eye irritation, which is not an accurate statement according to the affidavit. So we can tell from this that the defense has stated some facts, but also has had some non-accurate information being said today. Very questionable information. So we would like the jury to find the plaintiff, you find in favor of the plaintiff and find Lush Fertilizer liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We'll allow the scorekeepers to wrap up their scorecards. Good job, everyone. It'll take just a moment and then we'll come back on once we've submitted all those things and finished up our scores to give you some commentary if you'd like to hear it. I'm having some technical difficulty with the score sheet, so give me one moment. Okay. Are the other scores having any kind of issues with submitting their sheets?
No.
Yeah, it's just me. You would think.
No, it's already been submitted.
All right. This way. Well, while I sort out my technical difficulties with the attorneys, litigators, and witnesses like feedback.
Yes, Your Honor.
I bet you would. How about my scoring judges? You can introduce yourself to all of our. You can all turn on your videos too. I'm not scared of that. I'll even do this. Watch this move. I'll take off my robe so I'm so much less intimidating. Not that that worked, or that I was intimidating in the first place. So turn your videos. Let's have a conversation. We'll be a little bit more casual. Don't tell me where you're from though. Maybe our Miss Daly, do you want to start? Introduce yourself and show them your background and give them your input.
Sure. My name is Cass Daly. I'm a community member as a panelist, and I am with the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs. I've done this at least 3 years in person, and I have no any experience whatsoever. So I really find this interesting. What I do have are 2 girls who just finished high school or in the last couple of years and are now in college. And they did everything in high school, choir and track and, student council and everything else except mock trial. So when I see that you guys have committed this kind of time to do this really worthy adventure, let's call it, it is really quite something to see all the preparation that you have put into it. I'm always very impressed because I know that your schedules are slammed. And I know you don't just represent mock trial, but you are phenomenal students in a variety of other ways. So I'm always impressed to see who's doing what. It was a little, there's no good that has happened with COVID, except for the fact that you guys are pretty smooth with using the Zoom. And so in light of that, it makes it pretty flawless. It was hard for me to hear overall. And so I just found that I was really on the screen, and it helps when you are able to speak up. It is also a little bit of a distraction. It's in a Zoom call. I'm a clothing designer by trade, and I work in New York City for the last 32, 33 years. And so I am used to looking at you when you have your stature, and when I have professionally dressed many defense people, attorneys, all sorts of people. I'm just not I have no other experience with the law except dressing those that work in a courtroom. So I feel personally kind of gypped that I can't see you walking around and using your professionalism to let me see what you've practiced and practiced. And but this is where we are with Zoom. And so I appreciated when that tag comes across the front of your picture in the call here. So I'm losing more than half your face. So you might consider either moving that camera so that I can see a little bit more of you, so that doesn't cut off your face. And speaking up would be great for anybody, even if they're younger than me, would be helpful. And slowing down a bit, of course, I know you're nervous. I'm nervous right now talking to you, but if you can slow down too, that's also helpful. I just thought you did a fabulous job, both sides. I really enjoyed it. And like I said, this is my first opportunity to do it on a Zoom. And I so appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Daly. Mr. Pearson, you want to introduce yourself and maybe give a little feedback?
Yes, I'm Kerry Pearson. I'm also with the Rotary Club of Colorado Springs. I'm a retired attorney. Great job, all of you. It was very enjoyable to be a part of this. I thought you were all very, very well prepared. That was very clear. But the attorneys did a great job in terms of on direct, not asking leading questions, and on cross, asking leading questions. Witnesses did a good job in volunteering information to help the side that had put them on as witnesses, and maybe not being as cooperative as the other side might have hoped when they were under cross-examination. A couple of these are just kind of constructive criticism for future competitions. I like when the impeachment was done with the affidavit, although it would have been nice to actually have the statement in the affidavit read that was the cause for the impeachment, just to bring home the contradiction in testimony. On the yes and no questions, they were good to remind the person that it was a yes or no question. A different approach would have been to immediately cut off the person, the witness, after they gave the yes or no, before letting them go on to give the extraneous answer that you didn't really want to hear. So jumping in right away after you get your yes or no answer, and letting the attorney for the other side bring in other information on recross or redirect, but don't let the once you get that yes or no answer, cut them off, at least consider doing so if it was a very clear-cut yes or no question. And don't get into a debate with the witness about why it's either relevant or not relevant, because it's easy to get drawn into something like that. I thought the objections, regardless of ruling, were all appropriate to make. So good job there. And with maybe the exception of objections that were withdrawn, but sometimes you need to hear a little more before knowing whether you really want to fight about it or not. Anyway, I think y'all did a great job, and that's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Well, I'm Dennis McGuire. I'm a judge here in El Paso County. And if it makes you feel better, you all did in fact appear in court. I just, this is the computer that I have that actually works that they've given me. Miss Blessing has now turned the lights back on. That's nice. Somebody apparently moved and your motion sensor kicked on. I think you guys did a great job. And whenever I do these mock trials, I say, it's really good to see good lawyering once in a while. It's sad that I have to wait for mock trial to see it, but I'm glad to see it at least, once in a while. And I say that in all good faith. Here's my 2 cents in judging mock trial, just in general. And these comments that I'm going to give, I was a criminal defense attorney for 14 years. Then I was a magistrate for 5.5 years, and then I was a judge. So that's where I'm at now. And so the comments that I'm giving to you are the same comments that I would give a college student who's doing mock trials, the same comments that I would give an attorney who was practicing in front of me and was asking me for feedback. So I'm going to be very honest with you. I think y'all did a great job. One thing that I find is that, and this is something of me as well, I'm a fast talker. So I've had court reporters for 20 years telling me to slow down. So if I start talking too fast, let me know. But one of those things that happens when you start talking fast like me is sometimes we start eating our words and we start mumbling. And so we tend to talk as people, we tend to talk faster when we're reading. And so as you're reading your opening statements or you're reading your closing arguments, we tend to it's our own human nature to speak faster because you're trying to read so fast. And so it's a good idea, at least from my perspective, as much as you can, don't read your opening statement. Don't read your closing argument. Have bullet points or an outline. Know what you're going to talk about, and then it just flows so much better. You don't stumble over your words as much. I find, and you may not believe this, but I actually have a pretty good stammer, and so I hide it very well. So don't worry. So when I'm giving a closing argument, if I'm reading something, I'll start to stammer more. And so for me, just to have that outline and just to flow and just to speak from my heart and from whatever I'm saying tends to help the opening statement or the closing argument flow a little better. And I don't stammer over my words. So slow down. Also, I would like to see the attorneys, and I've never seen this when I've done mock trial live in person, is so much whispering between counsel, so many suggestions going back and forth between counsel or interrupting counsel to say, hey, use the correct gender identity or whatever the case was. So some of the things that I've heard, stand on your own. And so when you have a question, for example, know why you're asking that question. So you're not having to rely on your colleagues there to tell you what the response to the objection is. One of my rules as a practicing attorney, and what I still tell folks that practice in front of me, is that if you're asking a question, you should know why you're asking the question and what rule allows you to ask that question. So if you're saying, hey, you're a freelance writer, well, why does that matter? Well, I don't know. They asked the question in the first place, they put it in at issue. So I'm following up on that and show the financial bias. Know why it's relevant, because everything has to pass that relevancy test. So just have that answer ready to go. For when it's okay to ask, have your list of questions, but I always put the rule right next to it and say, this is why I'm asking that question. This is what gives me permission to do so. I will say, and I think this is an underused tool, And I was so excited that Ms. Wolf and Ms. Carlson used it, and that is voir direing an expert witness. I have people who have practiced longer than I've practiced at law who still don't use voir dire as a tool to question, get that second bite of an apple or that initial bite of an apple to interrupt the flow of the other side. So I was so excited to see that voir dire of the expert witnesses. I think that was great to see that come up. I mean, use it for a good purpose, but certainly use it. I absolutely agree with Mr. Pearson about those yes or no questions. The issue that you have to raise is not all of those questions were yes or no questions. And certainly not all of them, in your mind, they may be a yes or no question, but they may not call for a yes or no answer. So some of those questions that were particularly asked of Ms. Pesek were really just open-ended questions that could have been answered with yes or no, but really more so were, I think they were appropriately answered. And as a judge, I might say, oh, well, no, let them answer. This isn't a yes or no. You may think it's a yes or no question, but that's not a yes or no answer. Not every yes or no question calls for a yes or no answer. Some things have to be qualified. And I think, and I agree with Mr. Pearson, there's times you just shut it down and say, okay, I appreciate the yes. And there are other times, depending on your personality, that you might just let them ramble along. Of course, they're eating at your time, but you might let them ramble along. And then at the very end say, I'm sorry, that was a yes, right? Or whatever suits your personality, however you can do it. But be careful when you're saying, hey, it's yes or no, that it is in fact yes or no. I'm scanning through I thought the witnesses were all great. The witnesses obviously knew their case. You knew your positions, you knew what you were doing. You're playing the role. I think everybody did a good job on that. Remember, talk to your coaches about impeachment under Rule 613. I'm not sure if the rules are a little bit different. So probably I got the rules 3 minutes before I started the judging process. But we in the law, you confirm, you credit, you confront. So you confirm the current statement that you're saying. Whatever it is, the car was, this is all the standard. The car was blue. You credit a prior statement. Well, the last time you talked to the police was back on this day, and then you confront them with the affidavit. No, in fact, this is what your affidavit said. This is what you told the police on that day. So make sure you're running through that impeachment and talk to your coaches about the proper way to do that. And as opposed to just saying, hey, I want to impeach, this is what they said beforehand, because then I'm not sure, as a judge, as a presider, I'm not sure what to do with that. Okay, but and at least certainly at your level, actually at the professional level, impeachment is kind of a performance in a sense. That's really kind of I think the bread and butter of a good cross-examiner is to be able to impeach like that. And there is an art to it if you can do it really well. And I'm sure that all of you, once you kind of figure out those 3 steps, you'll be able to do it phenomenally. It'd be great. There's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, but it must not have been that important. It must not have just, really got to me. So, when you're going to impeach, make sure that there's a point to it. It's kind of, do we impeach on trivial things, or when I'm impeaching this person, am I actually bolstering them and making them sound more effective as a witness? It's like, well, I can give you the example, but I think if you think back to that impeachment that was withdrawn, you understand maybe where I'm going with that. But to make sure that impeachment is worth it. Okay. Sometimes as a lawyer, I'd let things go because to me, they didn't matter. But sometimes I'd impeach every little thing, even though they were nitpicky, because I wanted to make that particular witness come across as very incredible. By incredible, I mean not credible, not incredible. So I think there's a time and place. You just got to be. Sometimes you have to be restrained with it. Sometimes you just go with it. So you got to make that judgment call. But I think you guys were all fantastic. I did like the trio. Yeah, everybody used that. Well, the plaintiffs used that theme. The 1, 2, 3, and then came back to it at the very end. And I like that you came back to it at the end. I do. So those are my statements. Those are my. And do my other judges want to tell me they disagree with. You can't, it's fine. I'm not even more in the row. Mr. Pearson probably has a lot more experience in this judging thing than I do. On this lawyering thing, I'd say. Oh, I can't hear you.
No, I have nothing to add. No, you're the judge. I wouldn't dare contradict you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I get it all the time. I'm gonna go home and get contradicted all day long. So, all right, well, great job to everyone. I think you did fantastic. All right.
Yes, and this is Jason, the tournament coordinator. I have all of your score sheets, including yours, Judge McGuire. So thank you, and great job, everybody. And we will post or send to your coaches your assignments for tomorrow. And thank you to all the volunteers.
And I do look forward to someday this all being in person again. So it would be so great for you. It's really a different kind of feel when you're doing it in the courtroom, but next year. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.